Hello everyone, welcome to TechSharmit. In this session, we are going to talk about another very important topic related to Angular, that is API. And I'm sure API is something that you have utilized in every of your project because this is something that doesn't matter on which technology you are working, but API is something that we have to incorporate in order to communicate with the other system. Okay. So in this session, we will discuss in a very simple way what is API, why do we need it, and how we can relate it with some real world examples. But before we proceed further, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released session first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow it sequentially, then it would be much more easier for you to understand the ongoing topic. Because for time being, we are just mainly focusing on what is an API, how we can use it. Okay, and like in previous session we have already talked about so many other Angular related things, and also to make the things easier for you, I have already attached one free book for all of you, that is TechSharmit Digital Course Book, and it is completely free for all of you, where you will find more than 3,500 plus sessions available in both Hindi as well as English language. So without any language barrier, you can consume the content, and if you have any queries, you can reach out to me through comment section. Okay. Alright, so let's get started. Here you can see I have prepared a proper notes for you that you can refer during the exam as well as interview preparation. And here I have explained everything in a very simple term, also with some technical things that we can relate with some examples. Okay. So let's go one by one. The very first question that you will encounter in your exam or interview is, what is an API? So they will simply ask you, what is an API? So in that situation, you can simply return an answer that API is something that API stands for Application Programming Interface. What is API? An Application Programming Interface. Okay. Now this Application Programming Interface is mainly used when you want to communicate with other systems or application. So same thing is mentioned in the pointer number 2, where I clearly mention it is a bridge that allows two different applications to talk to each other. Okay. So here what you can do, you can simply utilize API, that is Application Programming Interface, to communicate between two or more than two applications, different applications who are operating on different systems. Okay. Now in case of API defines some set of rules. Okay, like what you can ask, how to ask it, what you will get back. So these are some basic thing that is set as a rules by the API, because we are not aware of other system, right? So what we do, we like application mutually decided that yes, these are some set of rules that we call as API documentation, and there we will define that yes, these are the parameter that we will pass, and in response we will get this much of information. Okay, so we can simply say that API defines some set of rules, like what you can ask, how to ask it, what you will get back. Okay, then we have fourth point that says you don't need to know how the other app works internally. That is very good thing about API, that if you are using API to communicate with other system, then there is no need to know how other application or system is working internally. Okay, you just use the API, it will do its task, no need to know detailing about the other system or application. Okay, so we can simply say that API is a contract between two systems, where we have some sort of rules that we follow in order to send the request or to get the response, and then that overall process is called as API, Angular Programming Interface mechanism or methodology. Okay, so I think this part is clear, like what is an API. So you can simply say that API is API is the Application Programming Interface that act as a bridge between two different applications to talk to each other. API defines rule, like what you can ask, how to ask it, and what you will get back in response. Very good thing about API is that it doesn't need if you are using API, then there's no need to know about the other application internally, because you can just directly use the API and it will work for you. Okay, so we can, in a simple terms, we can say it is a contract between two systems. Okay, now let's move to the next thing, where we have provided this definition into one line, that API is a messenger that takes your request, goes to the another system and bring back the response. That's it. Okay, so if someone asks you a very short description or definition, so you can simply say that API is a messenger that takes your request, goes to another system and bring back the response. That's it. Okay, all right, now we will move to the next part of the session, where we will relate it with some real world scenario, real world example. Okay, so just forget about API and everything. We will just talk about one scenario. Suppose you are a customer, you went to a restaurant for having some meal, right? So you are a customer, you go for restaurant, and after reaching restaurant, after walking through the menu, you decided to order something, right? So in that case, what you will do, you will call the waiter and then you will request your order. Then that waiter will go inside the actual kitchen of the restaurant, and it will provide the required information to chef. Then chef prepare the food, then waiter again came back with a response. Very simple process. Now we will relate this entire process with the API world. Okay, so here in this case you are the customer, and in case of API world, your application is a customer, your Angular Frontend is a customer. Okay, now we called waiter and we requested order from waiter. So here in this case, waiter is an API who is acting as a bridge between two systems. One side is customer, another side is maybe you can kitchen, or you can call kitchen or chef. Okay, so this is the second relation that you can relate waiter with the API. Then we have third thing, that is server and backend. So you can consider kitchen as a server or a backend. Then we have menu. So that menu you can relate with the API documentation. So we have menu, that means we have API documentation. Through this documentation only we got the idea like what kind of food we can get in this restaurant, right? What all prices are there, what are quantity are there. So these all things comes under a API documentation if you are talking in terms of technical. Okay, and in real world scenarios in API documentation you will find all the information, like what kind of information you can ask, what all parameters you can pass, what all response you will get. Okay, then we have next thing as your order. So your order is your request. So when you request something, so that is API request your order. And then later we have food served, that is API response. Okay, so very simple. Now see, all these definition which we talked about is understandable through this example also. So if you are requesting something through waiter, so then there is no need to go into the kitchen and to see like what kind of food it is preparing, although you can check just for your own purpose, but not to know, like there is no need to know like what kind of food is being prepared inside a restaurant. Okay, because there is a waiter who is serving as a bridge between the customer and the chef and the kitchen, where kitchen is backend server and waiter is an API, and API response is something that is food. So when food is served to you, that is your response, that is what you were expecting from the waiter after requesting. So that requesting part is API request, and getting the output as a getting food served as a API response. Clear? So same thing we have noted in pointers. Here you can see, you don't go into the kitchen yourself, you don't talk to the server directly, that is true. You tell the waiter what you want, your app sends a request to the API, the waiter goes to the kitchen, API communicate to the backend, that is also true. The kitchen prepares the food, serve processes and fetches data. Okay, the waiter brings back it to you, API returns the response to your application. If the dish is not on the menu, the kitchen won't make it. Okay, so if you order something that is not even present in the menu, then they will simply return a response, it is not found or not available. Okay, because kitchen is not going to make it prepare it immediately. Okay, so overall key takeaway for this session is that you interact with the waiter, that is API, not the kitchen, that is server. This keeps the entire things clean, secure and organized. Okay, so yeah, these are the all things that I wanted to explain you in this particular session. We talked about what is an API and how it can be relatable with the real world scenario. In the next session we will discuss few more things. So thank you for watching TechSharemeth.